Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah with my guest, Christine Franklyn. I'm so super excited that she has joined me today, and she's coming all the way from Barbados. Christine, share with the people who you are and what it is that you do.
Well,
Take it
I'm
away.
Christine. Thank you. Thank you for having me, first of all.
Yes, yes.
I'm Christine Franklyn, and I'm an executive wellness coach. And I am a certified health coach, but I specifically love to work with business owners, founders, CEOs, and executives because these are some of the busiest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And I really am passionate about helping anyone and everyone take stock of what's happening in your life and notice that there's some things that you might want to readjust so you can really take care of your health and well-being. And that's basically what I help my clients to do. I help them find time in their schedule that they didn't know they had. So we look at what's on their plate. We look at the 12 areas of life that I deal with, and that covers everything from finances to home environment, things that affect our health, but we don't really, or our well-being, but we don't really notice that they're affecting us.
Mm-hmm.
So we pull all those areas out, examine them, look at what needs to be shifted, and then we work on a plan to do that in a very personalized way because it has to fit the individual
Yes.
so that it's sustainable. Can't be cookie cutter at all. It needs to feel right to each one of us. We need to do what feels right to us.
Oh, that is so perfect. That is perfect. So, what is the what is your ideal client, or what's your avatar for your client?
So my ideal client is a pretty established business owner who is not necessarily stressed about money per se, but who is stressed about not having enough time and not feeling that he or she has enough freedom. And, that person typically is feeling very bogged down, feeling like they're spinning their wheels in mud and not even getting a chance to think about how they might be able to take their business to the next level and not showing up as their best self in other areas of life as well. So that's really the typical client that will raise their hand and say, yes, let's work together and let's see how we can develop an action plan for me to move forward.
Okay, so do you typically do more one-to-one, or do you do groups?
Definitely one-to-one is the main way in which I work now, but I do plan to have a group program probably by mid-year or so. And the one-to-one coaching can take two forms. It's either my 6-month program or intensives. For people who just want to get started and get some results fast, intensives are a great way to do that. So I offer two options, and then at least clients can choose which one is more comfortable and a better fit for them.
Yes, that's perfect because some people work better one-to-one, some people prefer groups. And
Yes.
sometimes, you can have that hybrid like what you were talking about. That's perfect. When a client comes to you, what would be the first thing that you do for them or with them?
Well, yeah, the first thing is to look at the schedule, to look at where support and systems may need to be improved or maybe implemented from scratch
Mm-hmm.
to just take some things off of that business owner's plate. So it's not necessarily that we'll go through the entire business. We're just looking at what is on the owner or the founder's plate that might be able to be cleared off if it's outsourced, if it's reshaped in some way. And I have a network of service providers. That's why my business is called the Good Living Network. And so if there are things that literally can be done elsewhere by someone else, if the client needs a done for you system, then that can be taken care of easily. And once we get the schedule sorted and we've freed up some time, then we look at how we can optimize the client's life. So how
Yeah.
can we optimize your life so that you have lots of energy, you're eating well, you are feeling really ready for whatever the day might bring, because we know running a business is always challenging. So mentally, we want to be clear and free to think of solutions. We want to have a calm, centered approach to our days because that's what will help us to navigate everything we need to navigate. And that's what helps us to work well with teams, to work well with strategic partners. It's all about how we show up. And we can only show up well if we clear out the things that need to be cleared out and optimize the things that need to be optimized.
Yes. So it sounds like it's a total transformation for the person.
It is. It is.
So not only their business, but also their life.
Yes, completely. But because we're talking about business owners, the business needs to be addressed. We can't just put it over in a corner and say, well, let's start implementing this new habit. Because that's just not going to be realistic. Yes. You know, there are demands that will be on you, and we need to address those upfront.
Yes.
So that we know then we can have free space to really deal with everything else. And so that you can start to think of yourself as a top priority for once, you know, not the business, not someone else, but you being the top priority.
Now that is amazing for one. And the other thing I was going to say was that is different.
Yes.
Many people that do work similar to what you do, I don't want to say the same because nobody's the same.
Right.
And everybody brings their spin, especially into this type of work. And so for you saying that you help them to make themselves a top priority.
Yes.
Is so huge. How did you come up with that particular piece?
Because I realized that I needed to do that. So I had to develop a system and I had to figure it out myself. And I could really have used a guide to help me along the way.
Yes.
And I know how slow and painful the process is when you're trying to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big believer in having systems both for your business and for your life, and strategies both for your business and for your life. So that's what I help clients to develop, because we tend to think about the business as having goals that we want to meet, and we have targets, and you know, we have strategies developed in order to meet those goals and targets. But what about our lives? You know, how are we approaching how we're going to get through our days and how our days are going to feel to us? Because of course we all want to feel fantastic.
Yes.
We all want to be healthy and fit, and we don't want to be stressed. You know, those are basic needs pretty much.
Yes.
But we don't normally have strategies as to how we're going to get those achieved. And really, this is what my program is all about. So we plan for those busy days, those crazy times, and we already will have a plan for what you'll do, how you'll still be able to manage to stay calm, manage to have energy, still make sure you eat properly. All of those things require strategies ahead of time, because if we leave it to chance, you know what's going to happen. Everything's just going to go out of whack.
We're going to be at Burger King.
Yes. Exactly.
We're going to be at a buffet or wherever.
Yeah.
I mean, not now though. So I think about buffets and I'm like, no. Sounds like a germ fest to me. No. So let me ask you about the pandemic. How did that change your life and your business? You know, because I've been noticing that for some people, it changed it a whole lot. It transitioned completely. And some people, they just kind of went on to business as usual and actually did better, you know. But yeah, so how did that affect you?
Well, for one thing, I had always envisioned having a wellness retreat here in Barbados. And people often would ask me about it. People would, you know, when I say I'm from Barbados, people would say, yeah. So, you know, I had been envisioning it for years. And then when the pandemic hit, then I thought, okay, let's just put that on the back burner, because clearly this is not the best time for people to travel.
No.
So of course, no. Yes. So of course, there was a heavy emphasis on working virtually, you know, so I put that on the back burner. And so that was one slight shift, but I've put that back on the front burner because in-person events are coming back. So that's an option that I am now offering. If people want to do that, you can have your intensive in the form of a wellness retreat. So I have had the opportunity to really reflect, I think, during the pandemic, as a lot of people have. And I noticed more than I realized, more possibilities than I realized I had. And, sometimes you just need to take that step back. That's something that I talk about, but the pandemic really gave me a chance to take a step back and think of all the other opportunities and possibilities there are for virtual platforms and virtual summits and, things that you may not have paid attention to before. So I really started to explore those other opportunities to share my message, because I believe if I have a chance to speak and there's even one person who suddenly says, you know what, maybe there's a better way.
Yes.
And that person doesn't necessarily have to go on to work with me, but it's just that thought to really start to reflect on literally what's happening in your life. Yes. Maybe actually start listening to your body, because your body's always sending you signals. And, say, maybe something doesn't quite feel right here. Right. Maybe I should take stock and see what I can do as a next step. And that is huge. I congratulate anybody who takes the time to do that, because I always talk about making a start. So you don't have to be perfect, but it's about that recognition and awareness. And then that determination to just make a start. Even with something like exercising, I say all the time, don't think about going to the gym or trying to exercise at home. Think about the clothes you're going to exercise in, or the space where you're going to exercise. So do you have that space set up? Do you have your clothes ready? Again, being strategic. So when you do that, that's all you need, because when you see those clothes in front of you, you're going to say, well, if I don't actually put those clothes on and at least try to do something, how hard could that be? Just to first step.
Get your body moving.
Yeah. First step, just
something simple.
Get yourself ready and, the rest will follow.
Yes, that is so powerful. And that actually is something I've done, because I started back working out because I wanted
There you go.
Because I found my muse. I found some beautiful older ladies that are working out and looking good. And I was like, I got to go that direction.
There you go.
So I had to find something that would work for me. And then I also found somebody that, was showing and talking to women over 40 and talking to us and telling us how we're supposed to work out, because, when you get over 40, you got to work out differently.
Yes, that's so true.
These people going and running these marathons, good, God bless them, but that's not going to be me.
Same here.
I was like, I'm 53 years old. I'm not going to be running, and I got triple D's. I'm, that's just not acceptable. So I started, doing the strength training. I started working out with weights. And
nice.
I have a gym right here in this room where I'm in.
Lovely.
Yeah, we turned our extra bedroom into like half office and half gym. So it's got a workout bench, and I've got workout weights and all that. So I started with that. So that actually is something that definitely is needful, and it works.
Right.
Because I was doing the treadmill and it started really hurting my back so bad.
Oh no.
I had back injuries. So I was like, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
So I started just using hand weights, and I just started with low hand weights and just using them, doing about 15 minutes, doing like, squats and, the one piece exercises, I call them.
Yes. Yeah.
Just little things, and just really making small changes, and I can see the difference in my body, and I'm so excited about it.
Of course.
When you've helped somebody in this way, say like you've shown them, like I can see that you use storytelling a lot in your stuff. Yeah. So I can see that as you share these stories, when the people come back to you and say, hey, this worked, da, 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 da. What do you say and how do you feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. I had a client who, sometimes it's not just about exercise, but I'm glad that you really gave that example because that drives home that point about setting up yourself with the space.
Yes.
And setting that intention. That's exactly what I talk about all the time. But even with other things, I mean, there's so many things that can make us happy. And I always say, when we're happy, we're on the road to being healthy. And when we're healthy, we get even happier, obviously, because you feel great.
So you feel good.
Yeah. So there was a client who knew that working from home wasn't working for him. And he really wanted to have a separate space. And he, although he was an established business owner, he still was kind of hemming and hawing and trying to figure out whether he should, although he had found the space, should he add this expense? And we talked through it in our sessions. We talked through what was holding him back. And he realized, well, really, nothing's holding him back except himself.
It was all him.
Yeah. So he signed the lease, he got into that space, and he said, oh my gosh, I'm so happy now. And I have a view. And, you know, on his first day in the office, he walked me around on the laptop, you know, showing me the space.
Awesome. That is awesome.
And he was so happy. And I just knew that he would be. I could see it, you know, before he could see it.
Yes.
And he felt it deep down, but sometimes we need to have that sounding board to really help us hold on to what we know already and what we feel deep down. I always say, trust that feeling.
Yes.
It does not lie.
No.
It's there to guide you.
Yes.
So it's that way that I work with clients. You know, it can be something like that. It doesn't have to be nutrition and physical activity, which is what people usually associate with health. I always say you can eat all the kale in the world. If you're stressed out, that kale is not going to do you much good.
It's like people when they're trying to lose weight, but they're not sleeping.
Yes. And sleep
you're
is
like,
a big one.
You got to sleep.
Yes.
You got, and I learned that from working out with a trainer years ago. I was working out, but I was working nights because I've been working nights for years. And I would get off and I would go straight and work out, but I still didn't get enough sleep. And so she would ask me, she said, how much sleep are you getting? And I looked at her one day and I was like, why is she asking me that? And so then she explained. She said, the reason why I'm asking is because what you're doing, she goes, the workouts that we do, she goes, and what you eat, you should be losing more weight, or you should be, you know, trimming better, more.
Right.
And I said, oh. And so then I started taking note and I started thinking about it and I started, you know, calendaring it.
Yes.
And seeing, you know, what was I sleeping? So I realized I was barely sleeping 4 hours a day because I would go to the gym when I got off, and then I would go home and I would cook dinner because that's what I did before I went to sleep. And then I would go to sleep. Then I would get up, help children with homework and different things like that, and then go back to work.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was intense.
Wow.
And I would do this day after day after day, you know. So typically, I think probably I might get 20 hours of sleep in a week. So I realized that at that time, I was like, wow, you know, that is something. So yeah, so a part of that process is, I think that what you do is you pull it together for people.
Yes.
You pull together the pieces.
Yes.
And help them to see the pieces so that they can start utilizing.
That's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head.
I was listening to you and I was like, yeah, that is so perfect, because people need that, especially trying to move the needle, just like you said.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to move the needle, but you can't move it if the pieces aren't in place. You know, you're not getting the rest, and, you know, and that to me, rest is so primary in so many things. And that was the problem I was having.
Yes. But, you know, it's always the thing that people readily give up. Yes. So if there's something that someone feels needs to be done, then immediately, if they have to cut something out in order to fit that thing in, it's going to be sleep usually. So they'll go to bed later, or they'll put on an alarm and wake up earlier and try to squeeze in as much as they can. And then the sleep suffers. And then, because typically in our modern society, our brains have a really hard time shutting off. Even when we do get to sleep, it might not be restful sleep. So you also have to prepare yourself for sleep. So our bodies know, okay, this is now approaching bedtime. It's time to rest. It's not like it used to be way back in caveman days. The sun comes up, it's daytime. You go do what you have to do, find some food. You're physically active naturally. Then the sun goes down, it's time to sleep. That was pretty simple.
Yes.
Now,
it actually was.
Yeah. Now
you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have all these distractions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Now we have social media and the news, and the computer is on, and the Wi-Fi lights are blinking on the modem, and everything's lit up all around us.
Yes.
And it's constant. And we think that that's normal, of course, because that's how most people live. But our brains don't think this is normal. So we really need to be intentional about taking time leading up to bedtime, having a regular bedtime so your body has a cycle, just like we would have had a cycle if we were simply going out looking for food and going to sleep when the sun goes down.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was a very simple cycle.
Exactly.
So we need to bring some of that simplicity back.
Yes.
And, stop looking at screens an hour before bedtime and just start to calm down and let our brains rest and let our eyes rest. And then we can really get that deep restorative sleep, which is what we need. That's how we heal. That's how we repair. That's how we process the thoughts of the day and everything that happened during the day and clear it so we can start the day afresh the next day. So it's something that's so taken for granted, but it's so important.
Yes. And you're right. It's so taken for granted. It's like, oh, okay. Well, and okay. So I noticed a change in the climate of the culture. Let me put it like that. Because years back, when I was looking at coaching, not just coaching in like that arena, they used to have that team hustle and team no sleep. You remember that?
Right. Yeah.
And so now I'm noticing the change where people are actually, talking about what you just said.
Right.
Calming down before sleeping, bringing simplicity back, and not, looking at your devices until you close your eyes, and, not watching damn TV until you close your eyes. And I noticed that it's like a direction toward calmness and direction toward chilling, more chilling instead of more team hustle and team no sleep.
Yes.
Can you speak to that? Because that is huge that has changed.
Well, I think the pandemic had something to do with that, because our usual habits had to change, because maybe if we used to be out a lot, we weren't out as much, so being inside alone would, make us pause and start to think about, okay, what's really going on here? And compare me. Compare that life, that busy, go life with this at least slightly slower pace that I think the pandemic forced on most of us. So I believe that's where it really started. And also because there is, I think, a normalization of stress, and mental health professionals have been talking about this, and there've been a lot of concerns raised, and that has been in the news space, it's been online, it's being talked about quite a lot. And because there's such a concern, because chronic stress is so prevalent and it's so harmful to our health, and it goes unrecognized in most people. I think because that has been talked about more recently, then people are starting to listen and pay attention and starting to reflect on what really does happen in their daily lives, and whether there may be signs of chronic stress that they may not have realized before. So I think that's a big part of it. I think we've gone so far left, or whichever direction you want to call it, that finally You want to turn around now and start to look back,
Yeah.
into the other direction.
Like we want to do an about face and just
Yes. Yes.
let's go toward, I think about what was that movie? Carol Ann, go toward the light.
Yeah.
Go to the light. So we need to all go to the light.
Yep. So it was needed. It was definitely needed.
It was. It
Yes.
was because that shift is like the whole planet shifted.
Yes.
We had like a planetary shift. It wasn't
It's true.
right. It wasn't just, just okay, we're gonna shift over here, or this group over here is gonna shift, or I'm gonna shift, or you're gonna shift. No, we are all shifting.
Yes.
And it's not even, to be honest with you, I felt like it's not even nowhere near over.
Right. I agree.
I feel like we're really right about in the middle.
Yes.
And I think that there are going to be more shifts coming. And
Yes.
a lot of people are not going to like it, but we're going to have to shift anyway.
Yes, it's true. It's
shifts
true.
come, and we don't always have to like it, and everybody doesn't. But it's a shift, and we have to do it because it's what's happening. It's almost, I feel like it's almost as if we have Earth on its axis, but now we're turning a little bit.
Yep.
It's like, I can see the big Earth, on the little axis thing, and we're just turning a little bit now, and it's shaking stuff up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In Barbados, I see the sea every day. And I always think about how life is fluid like the sea. Some days I look at it, it's light blue. Some days it's shimmery. Some days it's kind of greenish. Some days it's rough. Some days it's calm. That's life. That's literally a metaphor for life. Yeah. And life is meant to be dynamic. So we need to be able to move with the tide, not in the way of doing what everybody else is doing, but in terms of when you feel that there's a shift happening in your life, it's best not to resist it. Just take the time to examine what's really going on and then decide, okay, is this a direction I really want to move in? Does this feel like this is aligned with me? And then think about what your next step will be. Because if you fight it, this is where, again, we stress ourselves. If you try to fight it and there's something calling to you constantly, or there's something signaling that something's wrong, either physically or something that's affecting you emotionally, those signals exist for a reason. So it's best not to deny them, because if you ignore them and you try to fight the tide, fighting the tide doesn't really work out very well in the sea or in life.
No,
I can tell you.
I was going to say it's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah, I'm a water baby too. I'm actually a Scorpio, and not only that, I think my sun is Scorpio, my moon is Pisces, so I'm a true water baby. Yeah, and I'm from Georgia, the water in there, so it's like,
yes,
I know all about that stuff. It's like, you get out there, that tide will take you out.
Oh yes, oh yeah.
You won't even. I was out in the middle of the ocean when I was about, I think I was about 5 or 6. On a raft with my grandmother, and actually, she was on her own raft and I was on my own.
Okay.
And we drifted out into the middle of the freaking and I think I was too young to be petrified. But one of my uncles swam out. Matter of fact, one of my uncles and my grandfather both swam out into the ocean and grabbed us and pulled us in.
Wow.
We were at the beach. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
I was like, wow. And I think, I don't know. I don't even remember being afraid.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of childhood, isn't it?
It was.
That fearlessness
petrified.
Of childhood. I mean, it's amazing.
Yes. It's like,
we're so bold when we're children,
Oh my God. And I think about that. And my grandma, she was calm because we actually came together, and she was calm because, I think just because that was her,
right.
She knew somebody was going to come and get us, and they did.
Okay. Good thing.
Right. It was something, and I think about that kind of stuff. It's like, it's almost like we are out there in the ocean now.
Yes. That's exactly
it. That is what's going on with us.
Yes.
We're making that transition. Is changing. And I'm just so super excited. And the fact that you're in place to help people, especially business owners, because we need help.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like your program is like a full package, it sounds like mindset is involved as well
Yes.
as practicality, which is what's necessary, because from what I noticed, people get into mindset and they stay right there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't a lot of times make the moves, the practical moves.
Yes.
What do they call it? Take the inspired action.
Yes. It's
Like,
true.
so the fact that you marry those two is like amazing,
Thank
and
you.
I
Yeah.
can tell that you get awesome results for your clients.
I can't imagine working any other way. I'm an action taker. I'm very practical. I always
Yes.
say I have my feet on the ground, but my head in the clouds because I'm practical, but I'm still a dreamer and I'm always open to possibilities.
Yes.
So in my work, I just naturally carry that into it. I
Mm-hmm.
can't separate what I do from who I am.
Oh,
That's
that's
just me.
powerful.
Pretty much when you meet me or when you talk to me, what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Yes. I'm the same. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like we're talking, when you talk to me later, it'll be the same.
exactly.
I like to laugh. I was thinking about as you were talking, I was getting a vision of Lost in Space, Will Robinson.
Ah,
Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Because you were talking about how, we begin to think about these things, and then we have to make those transitions and those changes. And I was like, yeah. Oh, you said something going off in your head. And I was like, yep. I said,
yeah,
going off in your head, danger, Will Robinson, danger.
yeah. I love that. I love that.
I love
Oh
movies. So I
gosh.
think about stuff in terms of, I get a lot out of movies.
Well, that's what creativity is supposed to do, spark your own creativity.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's usually what happens is like movies and music. I get a lot out of them. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, and I can see the analogies so easily with movies,
Right.
Because I think also about like the Matrix. It's like, you know, it seems like what you do is you help people to escape the Matrix,
Yes.
in their mind.
Yes.
That
I
is
always say when you're in it, you're so deep in it, usually you can't see your way out of it. Usually you don't even know what you're in. You're
exactly.
just in it trying to claw your way through,
Yes.
but you don't even know what's beyond that. You can't even conceive.
Because you're
Yeah.
too deep in it.
Yes.
In one of the movies, it said, "You're in the shit."
But the one
Oh,
thing that people often say is someday they know that they're not quite living the way they want to. So very often people will say, someday I'll be able to relax.
mhm.
Someday I'll have more freedom. Someday I'll have more time. And I always say, how about making someday today?
Today.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but let's
Yes.
start with what we can do today. The one thing that can help you feel like you're a little bit closer to that someday dream. Because I don't believe in someday. My father always had a saying, I don't have tomorrow put down. So I always say, if I give him something, I say, let's say I give him his Christmas gift early. And I'd be like, okay, so you'll enjoy that at Christmas. And he'd be like, Christmas? I don't
It's
even have
today.
tomorrow put down.
I was gonna say, you probably say
I'm
Christmas
waiting.
today. Right now. That is so
And yeah,
powerful.
and I believe in enjoying the life that we have now, just making
Yes.
it what we can make it. It
Yes.
will never be perfect. Perfection is absolutely impossible,
No.
but we can make life enjoyable.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in
That is.
simple ways. Like, I'm not a big fan of cooking, but I believe in the power of having a home cooked meal because I know what's in it. I'll choose my ingredients carefully and I'll cook it with love.
Yes.
And my husband and I will enjoy it.
Yes.
But in order to get me through the kitchen time, I'm in there
Mhm.
listening to music and dancing and singing, and I'm having a ball.
I was gonna say you are shifting your energy.
Yes.
Say,
Yes.
yes.
So I'm
Yes.
perfectly happy with being in the kitchen because that is my space. I'm listening to my jam and I'm having a ball. So, you can make life what you want it. There's always a
Yes.
way to shift it in
Yes.
some way so that things are more enjoyable for you. I firmly
Yes.
believe that.
Yes. That is powerful and perfect. That is where we are going to end. So I was going to ask you to say one thing, but you already said it. So just you let people know how they can connect with you. What is the best way for them to connect if when they're ready to come in and utilize your services?
Sure. So you can find the contact information or the contact form to just send me a message on my website at iamhealthywealthy.com. And there's a quiz for business owners. So you can see if you do have any freedom, some freedom, a little freedom in your business, is your business running you or are you running your business?
Oh, nice.
So that's a great quiz to check out while you're on my website. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can just look for my name. I believe I'm the only one there with this name spelt with LYN at the end. And I'm also on Instagram at thegoodlife.bb.
Nice. That is so nice. I am so excited that you decided to join me. And I am just excited about what you bring to the world. That is what excites me. And that's why I do this work that I'm doing right now, because I really wanted to bring people that are changing the planet, so I can help to share them out to the world because the world needs to know. And I'm super excited about what it is that you do because that's so needful. That is so needful. So if you've been listening, thank you so much for joining us. And when you're ready, reach out to Christine because she can help you if you are in business. If you're having any type of what kind of issues are you helping people with? Time, freedom.
Yes, exactly. If you're feeling frazzled,
Yes.
talk to me.
Yes, talk to her. So I'm super excited just to bring her forward so that you can see, because I am committed to bringing people that are changing the planet, whether you know them or you don't know them. So now, after you've watched this, now you know her. So again, thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. Bye now.